Damn, what is up with the squad? It's your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies in the building. Y'all know what it is. It's Poly Sports Tea Time. Y'all, welcome in. Welcome into another Cess Talk Sports BY's Poly Sports Tea Time episode. Y'all know me. We taking a seat at the table for a powerful conversation, y'all. Maneuvered out. Maneuvered out. We got to have this conversation. Malcolm X, power in the game of sports politics. How power uses policy to push us off the board just when we start to win. And we got to have this conversation because of everything that we watching going on with the WNBA, the CBA, and those negotiations, okay? We've been telling y'all history got a way of running the same playbook. Switch the jerseys up. Malcolm reminded us that when black folks wake up, organize, and start moving with the strategy, the system doesn't always take you head on. It'll shift the rules, move the goalposts, rewrite the policy, redesign the game just to slide you out the position. So if y'all been paying attention to women's hoops, this is the playbook is in rotation, Lil. They already on chapter 6. You hear me?
Repeat.
You understand? WNBA players at the years, 29 of them, building this league, breaking records, proving their value at the bargaining table, demanding what they earn. But the power structure, surprise, led by Adam Silver, surprise, okay, led by Adam Silver and Kathy. Running a stall play. You hear me? No revenue sharing off top. They was like, don't even come here talking about revenue share. Percentage. If you even fix your mouth to say percentage, it's going to be a problem around here. No percentage of basketball related income. Promises to raise your salary while keeping the books closed. Tell me that ain't familiar. Y'all know who's joining me to dig into all of this. The mind that connects the politics, the policy, the sports, and the liberation with precision. My podcast partner, Political Lil.
All right. What's up, fam? Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate your ear. And you know, every time we talk about policy and power, I can hear Malcolm's voice reminding us that can't have capitalism without racism. So what we witnessing with this WNBA, CBA negotiations, this is a modern echo of that truth. These players are not just asking for more money, they're asking for a fair share of wealth that they help create. And they're asking for transparency, for a partnership, for ownership in a game that they have elevated. But of course, it's the system. And just like in Malcolm's day, you know, the system is maneuvering. Adam Silver going on that Today Show, I still can't get over that one. You know, drawing that kind of line in the sand, let's not even think in terms of revenue. So that means no BRI and no structural change. And that's not negotiation. That's a preservation of control. And so while these lawmakers and fans are calling for good faith talks, the message from the top is clear. We'll give you more crumbs, but you still don't get to bake that bread. So we need to explore that connection tonight, you know, with what Malcolm X taught us and was attempting to tell us. And that's why he was calling for a re-education in politics. Because that's how you get maneuvered out of power. They're using the same tactics that they use to silence leaders and co-op movements, you know, and now they're trying to contain the rise of black women athletes. You know, so Cess gonna set the table because the parallels between Malcolm warning and the WNBA standoff, and it's still a standoff, are too strong to ignore. We're getting ready to, now they just did an extension. We 2 weeks away from the end of that extension, and they still not talking.
Yeah, so it's weird. I don't want to bring people up to speed a little bit. If it's your first time catching us, hit the like and the share. They both right there. The WNBPA opted out of this 2020 CBA to fight for a share of the league's this league's margin and new revenue. Okay, financial growth is underscored by the $2.2 billion media deal that they got with Disney, Amazon, NBC, Universal, and that's set to start 2026. The players are saying compensation, they need the compensation to be directly tied to the total business growth for the league, which makes sense. The league been criticized for being stubborn. They not moving away from a fixed share model toward a proportional revenue distribution. They just not with it. Adam Silver, like you said, he woke up early in the morning. Good morning, everybody. Got some orange juice, everything. Everybody, can you hear me? Yeah, nothing. I'm not giving y'all nothing. We gonna give you a big increase, but just share. He's like, share. I mean, he said share like the nerve of them to know the word share. Yeah, don't say share. Might not be the right word. Reinforcing the league's resistance to structural partnership. Understand? Mm-hmm. So we talking about fixed wages versus ownership. They counter proposal. It was significant, but fixed. Max salary of $850,000. We got players coming in that made $850,000 in college last week. You know. So this proposal got rejected right away, y'all, and it stated the league was attempting to retread. The WNBA Players Association say the league was attempting to retread a system that is not tied to any part of the business and intentionally undervalues the players. And that's the piece that we got to get to: knowing your value, knowing your worth, and then being able to stand on 10 toes to go get it. So the policy is focusing on contained wage increase to secure labor, but it actively preserved the ownership class exclusive right to the exponential financial upside generated by the players. See, you see what I'm saying? So let's cut straight to it. Let's cut straight to it. I just wanted to give a little background here of what we got going on for those of y'all that are just catching up on where we're at in these CBA negotiations and why a lot of us are saying, hey, it's not looking like a 2026 season is coming up at all. It's not looking like we're headed there. So let's get straight to it and tie this back into where Malcolm was coming from, because he told us the system don't swing fists no more; it swings policy. Power shifts the rules, changes the terms, flips the whole board while we still getting into position. You getting into position, they to move the board. They ain't even game they playing no more. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? You think about that. Think about that. We just getting our stuff right here on Earth, and they headed to Mars. But see, just keep watching. See, keep watching how things move. The Civil Rights Act looked like a win on paper. Woo! It looked like a win, but behind the scenes, they was already drafting new laws to box the black folks right back in. That's the playbook. Progress out in the front, restriction in the shadows. And while you out here celebrating the progress, they restricting you all in the shadows. And it's the same playbook we've been watching. That's showing up right now. The moment that the players start stacking wins, views up, tickets up, sponsorships rolling in, systems tighten up. NBA, WNBA leadership hit them with no revenue sharing, no BRI, no transparency. That's not negotiation. That's control dressed up as business. That ain't even business, because it doesn't even come across as good faith. Raise the salary to keep the power. That ain't no damn partnership. That's the same old plantation economics with a rebrand. So let me ask you this, Lil. If Malcolm were alive today, how do you think he'd interpret Adam Silver's no revenue share stance? And would he see it as negotiation or as another form of gatekeeping dressed up in corporate diplomacy? Let me know about that. And I got some questions for the fam, so I'm gonna drop them in the chat. Go ahead, Lil.
Malcolm would likely see it as gatekeeping disguised as a negotiation, and he would argue that refusing revenue share isn't a neutral business decision. Is really just a way of maintain control, preserve power and ownership, and limit true economic independence for the players. These people that are running these institutions, the one thing they don't seem to want, and I'm talking about sports institutions or any institutions that involve the creation of wealth, they don't want economic independence for blacks, period, under no circumstance. And so in his analysis, that diplomacy is just like there's a polished version of the same structure. You could be having these negotiations 70 years ago and it'd be the same thing. Now, as far as the 70 lawmakers, Malcolm wasn't no fan of the lawmakers. he would see it as a liberal trap. Now he would say it that public expressions of concern from politicians often amount to sympathy without structural intervention. So unless these lawmakers are pushing legislation, and you all know that I've always been a big advocate for legislation, regulations, and real accountability, meaning they, Adam, you're going to get that call from DOJ, then they let us just function as a political performance more than a transformative action. But I believe that because of the way women have been done, I think that they're gonna push this gender fight. I do believe that they're gonna take some action on that front. I don't think they just gonna. I don't. The kind of lawmakers look like they're gonna have to get into the sports industry, and they're gonna have to push for some type of legislation. I think that's going to a lot depend on what happens in the 2026, the mid election cycle too.
Okay, interesting. Jeremy, what's going on? You say Unrivaled was the league that started equity ownership for the players. I would give it to Unrivaled for changing the future of women's basketball and how successful it was in the first year. We'll see if they build on that. AU has been successful in their own right too, just not as upfront and marketed as Unrivaled in the beginning, but doing more now. FM, what's going on? So and Lil, I think the core conflict here aligns with the historic exploitation, right? Is what we've been talking about, which is we got the predominantly white ownership class profiting exponentially from a predominantly black, and in this case, female labor force. And the players are explicitly excluded from sharing revenue from all these numerous streams, including local media rights, concessions, parking, and in-arena sponsorship signage. But they doing all the work. You talked about it. You had a saying that you shared with us. Meritorious manumission. Rewarding a few elite players for their extraordinary and meritorious performances, right? And that tactic aims to kind of neutralize the motivation of the top stars, right? So that's what you're looking to do with the Caitlin Clarks and the Asia Wilsons. These are the players that they will be attracting for that. It prioritizes individual praise over the collective economic liberation, dividing the labor force. And so I was thinking about this in regards to what we were talking about the dissolving of the union and how this is a really fine line, because right now as a union, it's a collective. Should they dissolve, you can see a lot of meritorious manumission come into play, because you can see people go for their own, right? And so how concerned are you about the union being disbanded? And I think it would ultimately end up maybe in the WNBA disbanding itself. But how close do you think we are to seeing the union disbanded in this situation?
You know what? I think that would be a tactic they're gonna really see. It's the only way they could do the antitrust portion. They would have to dissolve the union. So because they're not talking at all. It seems like they're not talking at all, but I just can't see it not being settled in court in some civil litigation. I just, because you got two stubborn sides, and I think the division, if they were to dissolve the union and go that route, your biggest problem not going to be among your most elite players. It's really going to be that middle tier and some of them people that need that check.
Right.
That's where if the union doesn't set up a way for them to have compensation coming in, then you might have a lot of them bucking the system,
or going somewhere else, right?
Yeah,
just going somewhere else now, because you're not under this union agreement. And I wonder too, how difficult would it be to now, once it's dissolved, to reestablish the union after a deal is reached or whatever, however that works. But when we see the 70 lawmakers now urging the league to negotiate in good faith, is that genuine advocacy, or is this another example of a liberal trap where sympathy replaces structural change? What are we seeing here?
Well, with the you had the Women's Caucus. That's the congressional body. These are the 70 legislators that are just coming on board. They're coming on board from some of the politicians within the cities where they have franchises, and so that's that particular body of people coming in to protect business and the ownership. Congress has the biggest role in that they can create legislation, that on that national level that supersede anything the states do and stuff like that. But then it's risky, even with them trying to assist like that, because then you got who you got in the White House and how they trying to control markets. They're gonna want the white males to continue to control that market. No question about that. And the things that you've seen done out here publicly, the termination of the federal employees, which were 19% of them are African American women. That may not be a play they could get through this particular administration. But it's either you're gonna continue on the plantation with a little more money, because I'm gonna tell you right now, if the players lose, they're gonna set that league back for another 2-3 decades, because they'll never get another opportunity like this, I don't believe, no matter how much money they make. You got half of the owners, most of the owners that either own teams or have the male teams. These guys they don't see it like the independent owners. They understand it's a business investment and the time it takes and this, that, and the other. I just think the league kind of set itself up for this type of potential failure. So, we don't, I mean, some of them players gonna be looking like, 800,000 ain't no small change, but it still undervalues them. And they're still not going to get any money from BRI. So there's still going to be it's just like you at a job and they say, okay, you make $20 an hour. Okay, we're going to pay you $40 an hour, but you're not getting in on none of the revenue that you're generating. So that's the structural change that has to happen. And if that doesn't happen, it's a lose-lose situation. So who's the X factor? The fans. The fans got to put their foot down and tell Adam and them how they want this to go. They either want the players with BRI. It's either BRI, we're not buying no more tickets, we'll not be buying no hot dogs, you will not have no jersey sale. So the fans can bankrupt you and they can put the most pressure on you. That's why it's so important that we advocate for these ladies and, get on the player side. Because if you get on the side, if you keep on spending your money, then they figure, you like the way the program going. So that's what it is. But these are just optional legal maneuvers, that they could do. I still think Title VII has the best chance of being successful, but you still got to consider the antitrust, because that's how the college went in there and got paid.
Do you guys think there's a possible way that the team sports can pass something similar to what you saw with the Muhammad Ali Act for boxing? Anthony, hey Anthony, how you doing? I'm not familiar with the Muhammad Ali Act for boxing, so I would have to research that and get back to you. Yeah. I don't know, Lou, if you are familiar. I won't touch that one because I'm not versed on it, well versed on it to even speak on it, Anthony. But I'll take a look at that and get back to you, unless you want to speak, unless you can speak to it, Lil.
But no, I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, if you want to tell us more about it in the chat, Anthony, I'm definitely interested to see where you at with it. I think right now our focus more is kind of just on this labor fight. And the teams will eventually play into it because they got NIL and deals and stuff coming too. But right now, this is strictly about the wealth that is being generated in the WNBA. The books not being shared, and then how do we get to an equitable solution, for all parties? But let's go from concept to court, because Malcolm Warner wasn't museum talk. It's happening in real time on ESPN, on live TV, behind every live boardroom door. The WNBA CBA mess, it's not about paperwork. This is about power. And that's what we gotta understand. It's about power. If we're being honest, it's about who that power is being used on. That's when we get specific about it. It's who the power is being used on. They love the image of strong Black women. They put us everywhere. As long as strength stays on the timeline, not at the negotiating table. The moment you want to sit down at the table, then it's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So Asia Wilson could dominate the sport, but the minute she talk equity, everybody suddenly ain't see it. Hey, what she say? What she say? What she talking about? No, she ain't it. She ain't not it. Angel Reese can drive engagement through the roof, but they won't repost her when she speak on pay. That's not an accident. That's control wrapped in a compliment. Malcolm said black woman is the most disrespected person in America. And here we are watching the blueprint repeat. Black women built this league's culture, carry visibility, and power its growth, but somehow we still get pushed out the room when the real money get discussed. So when Adam Silver goes public, and I mean confidently, his chest out saying revenue sharing ain't even on the table, that's not a decision, that's a message. You can shine, but you can't share. What are we even negotiating? If you're telling me already that what it is that I'm coming to talk to you about to get ain't even on the table, it's no reason for me to come to the table. There's no reason for me to be at the table because you've already taken what I'm negotiating about off the table.
Right.
So you've already come at me and said basically you're gonna take what I'm gonna give you or don't get nothing. That's not a negotiation. That's a monopoly. That's me. Yeah. That's me in total control. You're the product. Get out there and perform. If you don't, somebody else will. And that's where the fan comes in and has to say, man, I'm going to draw the line somewhere. I don't want to just see anybody playing WNBA basketball. I want to see Asia. I want to see Angel. I want to see Kai Copper. I want to see Satu. I want to see Paige. We have to come and say, these are the players that we want to see playing. And then stand with them so that they get the equity and the support. Not even just, this isn't even just about the money. It's just about it's about just the basic principle of respect and paying a person what they worth. All this money being made off of these women. You just gonna say, yeah, you got 10 irons in the fire, but I'm only gonna pay you for 3. Yes, you're holding up all 10. None of this money gets made without you. But I'm only going to give you the piece that I want you to have because I said so. Who are you? Again, I don't know if Adam Silver ever played basketball. If I had to bet my money, I would say no, and I'm okay if I would lose that. But I don't believe that he really played a whole lot of basketball. Yeah, pimps don't even negotiate like that. You understand what I'm saying? See at the top.
That's good.
You understand? You understand? See at the top. That's not even that ain't even how it works.
Yeah, that's just it's really ridiculous.
Well, Lil, Malcolm said they put you in the game to distract you from the system. Do you think the salary bump with no BRI is a way to pacify the player? Who's going for pacification in 2025? That's what I'm saying. I can't even believe that they still building them like Adam Silver in 2025. They still making them like that? Man, come on. They should have been retired that model. Listen, is this just a way to try to pacify them and keep them quiet long enough to protect the power structure? Just can't keep being quiet. But Lil, your thoughts on that?
You know what? Malcolm would likely see this as a pacification tactic. It's a short-term raise designed to quiet the dissatisfaction without shifting any real power. So by boosting the salaries but refusing revenue sharing, the system keeps players in the game but away from the table, preserving the existing hierarchy while appearing generous. He came out there, chest out, tie-bucked. Oh, we talk about giving them $800,000, like that's some money because you already can cut that in half, because Uncle Sam gonna have his hand out. But it's not no real money in proportion to what I'm bringing to the table. What my talent is generating. No, it's not money, and you're not really allowing these ladies to negotiate when you telling them this what I'm gonna give you. That's not a negotiation.
That's a hijack. That's a robbery.
A stick up.
Matter of fact, it's even worse than a robbery. I don't know what's worse than a robbery, but y'all think about it because it's like you don't even know what you made.
Right.
See the thing about a pimp. See the thing about a pimp and that situation is that woman, she know how much money she gave that pimp at the end of the night. She can at least say, I know that I made this. At the end of the night, these women don't know what they gave them at the end of the night because ain't nobody opened up the book. Yeah. Not all the books.
And if you so, and then they keep talking about this stability thing. Okay, so say for the sake of argument, you're trying to keep this stability thing. You keep claiming. I mean, how long you gonna wear that one out? Then what's the problem with you opening the books? You claim that you're not making nothing. You claim that they not making the growth projection measurements and stuff like that. But you want them to operate blind. These girls are actually like walking in the negotiation with blindfolds on. They don't know what kind of money is being generated in this league. You know, they don't know how many shirts being sold. I mean, they can't call Fantastic and ask them, well, how many shirts did you sell? You know, they can't talk to none of their partners. They know that these corporations gave them $76 million in licensing agreement. You're not paying the girls nothing. You know, they don't like the little game that the WNBA put out. They had, you know, had Asia on there one time. They had Reese on there recently. They don't get nothing for that. That's part of their little $76,000 contract. That, you know, that's probably why she went and got her name trademark. Because the way they got this set up is really a robbery thing. And they the first probably 10 years of the league, you better be grateful you got a league. You know, this, that, and the other. They, you know, the tactics that they used on these women, you know, to ensure compliance is pretty ridiculous. You know, but now
I think Jordan was the first one who I heard trademark their name.
Yeah,
I mean, he had to go ask permission. You couldn't even use him on the video game. They just had a ball head with a 23. You better not put Jordan on the back of that jersey unless I tell you to. Don't you use my name, my image, my likeness. That man with that 23 better not even stick his tongue out wrong, or it'll be a problem. So yeah. I understand that. This is where we're headed. This is what you have to control in this branding age. And Anthony, I see you saying that the Muhammad Ali Act was created to protect the fighters from the promoters, basically taking most of the percentage up front after the fight finishes. Yeah, they need something like that, and this is what they have to negotiate in the CBA. Doesn't seem to have a spine to stand up to. Well, the commissioner she don't need a spine. She needs to have a say. See, she got hired as a puppet. She got to know who you are when you come in there. Adam handpicked her, so she knew what she came in there to be. And they're cutting the money. They cutting up the money in the back on the back end. No wealthy people would invest 400, 500 million for new franchises if the league was losing millions every year. That's the other thing. How much stability you got to hold? How much stability you got to hold? This is the thing. I'm gonna say, WNBA. Y'all said y'all ain't made no money for 29 years, but y'all have been able to keep this business afloat for 29 years. Now y'all got $2.2 billion coming in here. Open up the books. Open up the books. Open up the books. I don't want to know nothing about stability. You kept this thing open 29 years on a shoestring deal with some bubble gum and duct tape. Now you got some money coming in. Open up the books. We ain't playing. So, and I'm with you, FM. We talked about it. Ain't nobody. You want to lose $400, $500 million?
Ain't nobody doing that.
Ain't nobody walking into that. These people is fighting over being able to invest in this thing. So we're not gonna go there. But little second, how do you see the racial and gender dynamics playing out here? Because I feel like the system is more comfortable giving raises to a few individual stars than granting collective ownership to a league full of Black women who know their work. And that's concerning.
Yeah, the dynamics are central. You know, the system often prefers to, rewarding a few marketable stars over granting collective economic power to a league that's dominated by Black women who understand their values. See, that's the key. And so that's like selective generosity, used to maintain control. It'll uplift a few individuals while denying structural ownership to the broader group. This is what they're doing with Caitlin Clark, pulling her to the side, sweetening her pot $16 million a year. And the thing is to control her and make her, stay neutral. I ain't really gonna side with them. I ain't, that type of thing. And that's often what people do to buy the control. And they pull out a few stars. They might have even approached Paige. They could have approached, some of the they could have approached Asia, which Asia probably told them, get lost on that one. I'm standing 10 toes down, because she's in a position to do so. But yeah, that is a normal, what they call a backdoor under the table. That's what it's called. That's an under the table tactic they always trying to roll with.
Absolutely. And I see you asking, like, what's the WNBA franchise overall worth in terms of equity? I can't say, but I do know that like 50 million. Golden State back started with 50 million, and then they had a valuation of like 500 million at the end of the year.
I think it was 550 million. So he made 500 million in 1 year. I mean, his
in
value.
1 year.
You know,
Ain't no money. Ain't no
that's
money. See,
it,
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. And this union leverage, the Nafisa Collier, paper. I call it Papergate moment, where she publicly called Commissioner Engelbert the worst, the management the worst in the world. In that exit interview, as a calculated move to undermine the league authority and exert that pressure back. They got to make these kind of moves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it only works as long as the union is intact. Once that thing is dissolved, it could go a lot of ways, because it's gonna be money coming from a lot of different ways. You got international money coming, you got AU money, you got Unrivaled money, you got Upshot money, you got AEBL money, you got WBL, everybody got L, you know what I'm saying? Everybody it's basketball everywhere. I wish that some of these people would get together and just form a league. And then we still got Maverick Carter, who I'm not sure if his $5 billion is in the Project B or if that's something separate.
I think he pulled out, and
so he may be doing something still totally separate that's coming. So a lot of opportunities here, and you know,
and
24
they got the best labor pool right now. You got the best labor pool in the WNBA. But if that union gets dissolved and that labor pool, because believe me, if once it gets dissolved, everybody gonna be getting a phone call. You know, with your top stars, especially your most marketable stars. Then you know they already offering NECA, you know, reportedly $2 million and some ownership. And what you think gonna happen if these stars get loose?
Alyssa Thomas signed too, right? And it's interesting because they say because you know, for me, words matter. So they say player, they say partner, and they say owner. And so the owner piece, I get what that part is, and the player piece, I know what that part is. But that partner word is interesting to me.
Yeah,
because the partner word to me is now: are you partnering back with my brand? Are we now using my logo, my image, my other collaborations in the marketing of this league, so that now I got advertisements. My brand as an individual is also out here being pushed with this league. So it's interesting to see. I'm keyed in on that partner word. So I want to know what that means and how they're partnering, because these women bring a lot of collaborations just with them, as a brand on their own. So very interesting, but. Let's shift it to some of this legislative policy and how it parallels in sports, because Malcolm taught us that the moment that you start to break free, that's when the system don't swing at you directly. That's when the paperwork, you got it. Did you see the legislation change? Did you know what's happening? You know, the laws are changing on the first. You got to check your little update, in case you missed it, kind of updates. Stay in the email, know all that, because policy gets polished. The intention stays poisonous. Policy gets polished, the intention stays poisonous, and I mean that. Sports has mastered that tactic better than anybody. Look at NIL. NCAA swore was giving athletes freedom, but now the black athletes finally building their own money lanes. Here come the regulators, ready to monitor that freedom. They call it oversight. Malcolm would have called it containment. Federal agencies circling on NIL just as players create their own economy. That's not reform. That's the system trying to repossess what it never owned. How you gonna come take back something you ain't never owned? But the real stage, the WNBA and this so-called opt-out clause. On paper, it looked like leverage. In reality, it's a warning label. Walk away and you lose income, benefits, security. It's freedom with a price tag. If you like telling someone they can leave a plantation as long as they okay with starve, that's not empowerment. That's economic pressure dressed up like choice. Yeah, you can leave here, but your ass gonna be hungry when you're gone. Right? Going on. But you can't have no water. Going on, but you better not take no food with you. You can take what you made in this earth on this earth with yourself. Now, on your own, you can take that with you. What you didn't grow? What you own? Nothing, because you ain't own nothing from the gate. They may not even let you leave with the clothes on your back, because do you own them? I don't know. It's their jersey. You better bring a change of clothes. When Adam Silver and Kathy Engelbert talk about raising salaries but refuse revenue sharing, that's not compromise. It's calculation. They know most players can't miss a season. So the opt-out becomes a trap door covered in glitter. He warned us about this exact trick. They give you illusion of progress to stop you from demanding power. Look at y'all. Y'all made it. Ain't went nowhere. Ooh, we done made it now. Look at you. Ain't nothing 50,000.
You think
Don't
you
mean
in the
nothing.
game?
You think you in the game. You got you, and in your mind you already know where you gonna spend that $850,000. And then you get to the store and you found out the prices went up and your $850,000 ain't worth nothing. Ain't worth nothing now. Worth $250,000 by the time you get it in your bank account. With the tariffs and everything coming on. But never mind. I digress. See what I'm saying? But Leo, let me ask you this. How does this kind of policy double speak fit Malcolm's analysis of structural containment? Because see, this looked like the modern version of legal chains he used to talk about. Let me know.
You know what Malcolm would? I think he would view this as, like double talk. This structural containment in plain sight, it really is. See, they use rules and policies that look progressive, but ultimately they reinforce dependency and limit true autonomy. And that's the whole thing. Reinforcing dependency. These girls are dependent on this league and they don't have any autonomy. And so that's a modern form of legal change. It's just, restrictions that's wrapped up in professional language, and it keeps the players operating inside the boundaries they didn't even choose. So, it's just it's a slick way, to keep you on the board, and in the square, so to speak.
I always think about it and what NCAA have done to student athletes. It reminds me of the Fab Five documentary. Jalen Rose spoke about Nike selling Nike Huarache edition and no money seen. It happens all the time. It definitely happens all the time.
I mean, billions.
Do you think the media plays a role in masking this economic manipulation? Because it sounds like a win when it's more a comfortable cage. When you think about
it. They're going to blow up this 850. This money you ain't never made. Well, actually, college students making that kind of money, so that ain't gonna be
exactly.
Good, But they always act as a buffer for the system. They amplify these talking points that make exploitative, arrangements look like progress. They exploiting you all the time, and they'll come out here with a narrative. Oh, you making big money. This is more than what the public makes, or this is more than what some executive make. They'll celebrate this superficial gain, to avoid even talking about the deeper economic questions, which is the value. And so the media helps polish the cage instead of exposing it. So they make containment look like opportunity, and that as these negotiations, move on, that's what you're gonna start hearing more of, a narrative that we quadrupling your salary and you should be grateful. But that the salary is not consistent with the value I'm bringing. Mm-hmm. The revenues is what the focus should be. And even in the articles that I read and stuff like that, nobody want to talk about they don't want to talk about the reasons why the revenues should be shared with the player. And then I'm really just fascinated by the fact that you are doing this for the men, but you have a real type of heartburn doing it for women. I just can't understand the psychology of that. I don't, is it that putting money in a black woman's hands, is that seen as some kind of internal danger? I just can't fathom that. Because you paying all these brothers, this kind of revenue sharing money, even though they had to fight nail it too. But I'm just saying, it would seem like if we doing, we recently had an Equal Pay Act, and under the Obama administration, this, that, and the other, it would seem like you'd be moving the league towards that. But you ain't even. And then the killer party, you're gonna pay them out of 3 revenue sources, and then you're gonna pay them 3%, and you say, well, we'll pay you 6%. But what about these other 7 revenue items that I'm bringing in? It's just crazy to me. I don't know what's wrong with these. Adam Silver and them, they've been this country. I hate to say it. It's just, I guess once you build a country on exploitation and extraction of labor and extraction of value like that, it's just, you so afraid that another economic system will cause you to lose 5 more pennies that you can't stand to shake it loose. This is the most ridiculous labor question that, you know, for the times, they making too much money to even approach these ladies like that. That's why I think it's going to really wind up as a, you know, the gender issue of our time.
Oh, it's definitely the needle mover of our time for sure. Definitely the needle mover of our time.
I mean, these sports, and I'll say this right quick, because there's another
No,
situation going on with, you know, in the NFL with Shadua. These institutions have got to get that plantation mentality. They have to get that out their mind and understand the world is changing. World is moving in a different direction. And labor, unlike in 100, 200 years ago, they understand the value that's been extracted over all these years. And the fact that they so stuck in their ways, I mean, don't want to even address you having any wealth position, I think it's going to cause the whole system to collapse. And it's just going to be a unnecessary mess. You know, just because you can't seem to get that plantation mentality out your head. You know, I don't know if it's fear or just ignorance. You know, but you're not dealing with the same athletes you was dealing with on the plantation. You know, these athletes are understand their value all the way down to the high school level now, and probably 8th grade in a year or two. You know, so you got to catch up. And these sport leagues, you know, it's, you know, far as how the women are coming along, they seem to have kind of caught up as far as the men, but they way behind as far as the ladies.
So this where it get good. This where it get good, Lil. This where it get good. Because we got to talk about what happens when power feels itself slipping. Malcolm broke this down. When you threaten a balance, they don't tear the system apart. They fortify it. And that's what's going on inside the dub right now. The moment black women turn the talent into leverage, the moment visibility transform into the economic power, they snap the guardrails right into place. Click, click, went up, quick. Look at these patterns. Look at these patterns. And I'm sorry, y'all. I think StreamYard was going in and out on some of y'all. So, but y'all didn't miss nothing. Y'all didn't miss nothing because it was in and out on me too. So, but look at this pattern. Angel Wilson became the standard. Dawn Staley built a dynasty. Angel Reese turned NIL into cultural currency, and suddenly the league started clutching their pearls. Do you hear me? They clutching their pearls around here. Revenue sharing off the table. Transparency, that's too complex. The negotiations that froze up, the statements that got sterilized, and every door that was cracked open, they quietly closed them, pushed them closed. That's the containment right there. That ain't confusion. See, Michael told us to play. They let you shine in the room, but you can't own the land the room sit on.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this era right here flipped the script because these women, they not asking for the entry. They building their own infrastructure. So this is where it get interesting. This is where it get good. This is where you get your popcorn out. Because now we're seeing all of these different leagues pop up. We seeing NECA supposed to be negotiating for the WNBA CBA, and she went and got a $2 million job someplace else. Is you coming to the negotiation table or what? You know, these are, you know, we got to look at this stuff. So the move that I think started the earthquake, the shaking the entire sports economy is Unrivaled.
Mm-hmm.
Created by the players, designed for the players, $100 million broadcast deal, and it's in motion. Player-owned model launching at the exact moment the WNBA is trying to squeeze them in CBA negotiations, and it's not. That ain't revolutionary. If that ain't revolutionary, nothing is. But the flip part of that is also that Upshot was like, guess what? Here we come, and we're not gonna do like Unrivaled. We're gonna start up as soon as you start up. What day you start? We opening that day. When you open, we open. What you doing? Like, guess what? We can't open next year. We ready to open next year. Now we might not be as big as you, but we're gonna be able to provide a quality product that you can't provide at all.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I don't sell as many tickets as you, as long as I sell out my tickets, I'm in the black for what it was. Was good. What my goal, what my business goals were.
Mm-hmm.
That I forecasted for this year. I sold out. Capitalism is a purely exploitative system. Oh, absolutely. Innate insecurities coupled with greed and the need to feel in control is a diabolical combination. You better believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's a diabolical combination. If Kevin Durant can make $60 million a year on W-2 employee, how much do the owners make a year? Oh, we don't know. Open up the books. You talking about these? We don't know.
Yeah, we know how much the NBA makes. They books,
They open up their books.
The union knows. The union knows.
Yeah, the union. Absolutely, the union knows. Leo, do you see Unrivaled as a deliberate counter move to the economic control of the WNBA? You know, a form of strategic separation that Malcolm talked about, where Black women aren't waiting for fair play but creating their own system before the power system shuts out.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Unrivaled is functioning as a strategic separation in real time. So instead of waiting for fairness from a system built to limit these players, especially Black women, they build an independent economic structure that the league can't control. So it's a proactive power move for certain, to create an alternative, before the gatekeepers close their doors. You close this door, got another door to go through. And it's not less than the door that I came out of. So the timing of that. See, these girls been thinking about this. The rumblings on the CBA started in 2023. They start having some dissatisfaction because they couldn't get an answer on how they were doing. So this been going on for a while. When you had that explosion in the, with the NCAA, and then these last 2 years, this is something they've been thinking about, because you did the CBA in 2020, and then you seen, everybody was ducking and dodging and wasn't, trying to even do the little things that was in the 2020 CBA. So they already knew several years ago, that this was going to come. And so they evidently have sat down and, was making party moves, to have some kind of leverage. Because without you knowing exactly what kind of money coming into the league, your leverage is kind of limited. Because you don't even know where to start operating from. Well, y'all made, so many billions, so let's start with that. You don't know what they made, so you can't start nowhere. And then they don't want you to see the books. All you know is every stadium you walk into at $84 a ticket, you're looking at a place packed, and they eating hot dogs and popcorn. They done park somewhere. The little place you get your jerseys all packed. There's a line around the corner. You see money being made. But then you look at your little bitty paycheck after Uncle Sam done clipped you, and whatever state you played in, they done clipped you too. And you ain't got enough to do nothing but, buy an apartment. Staying in an apartment if you ain't got no outside deals like some of the ladies, bad business.
So, Leo, I guess what I want to know from you is if the players decide to strike or the owners call a lockout, what kind of leverage does something like Unrivaled give them? Uh, are we watching the beginning of an economic revolution in women's sports where players finally hold the keys, not the gatekeepers? What you seeing?
Yeah, I think that's the truth. Unrivaled really do get the players leverage for the first time. They've never had any kind of leverage. So it creates an income source, a platform, and a pipeline, outside the league control. So that means that the owners can't threaten them with economic survival, especially if they can get everybody set up, especially a top tier player. So this is the early stage of a player-led economic revolution. And it's a shift where athletes and not the gatekeepers are the ones, holding the keys and can negotiate for the first time from a position of strength instead of dependency. They can finally say, well, nah, we gonna sit this one out. Or if the owners rather say, well, okay, well, the next move is to lock you out. Well, I got somewhere to go practice. I got coaches to work with me. I got a weight room to work in. I don't need your facility necessarily. So I think it was a very strategically timed move. And yes, there's going to be a revolution because this is happening across all women's sports. It's not just basketball just happened to be the biggest sports, but look what soccer had to take the people to court, to get any concessions, and you got these other leagues, some of the newer leagues. I even they try to put women infrastructure in, to avoid these guys, because when the guys get in, they just I don't know what they be on, tell you the truth.
That you don't know what they be on. Okay. Um, what what does it say? What does it say when you have an Alyssa Thomas who's already an owner in Unrivaled now signing up to play for a league and be an owner in this league that's gonna play during the time of Unrivaled? Should Unrivaled feel threatened by Project B? Because that's a little weird to me.
We have to really see how it plays out. They I don't based on the number of players out here, I don't see it as a threat. Unrivaled still has enough of the top players to sustain interest in what they're doing. And then this split off of other popular or the high marketable players, and I just think that's a plus. I don't see it as necessarily a threat. And at least not for this second season, because I don't think that Project B is going to start in the fall next year. So, this what you might have, you might have many other defectors, depending on the money, but it's just moves that have to be made. They have to be. You can't stand still. And every one of these 156 players need to be involved in other economic structures. So that's just an additional structure that has come along. When you're talking about ownership, now let's get one thing straight. Unrivaled give the players equity, but this new Project B is talking about ownership, and that's a little bit different. Equity is more of a value type of ownership, but they talking about giving you some real asset, a real asset over here. If you part of the ownership, you part of the profits. If you part of the equity, you part of the value, but not necessarily part of the profit. But that league is still owned by those by Stewart and Collier. Even though these players have equity pieces of the league, per se. Not on the. Both of them are kind of forms of ownership, but they work a little different in terms of cashing them in. So I don't necessarily see it as that, but with me, I have to see how it kind of plays out.
Okay, I think y'all got me back.
Yeah.
Okay, I had some kind of in the internet. It's saying it was the internet was my internet was weak. But I wanted to strip this all the way down real quick before we get ready to get out of here. Because the real engine behind the CBA fight is the money. If you don't understand the economics, you're always gonna be at somebody else's mercy, right? So the WNBA players is dealing with a system where it's built to look really, really fair, right? But it's keeping them underfed. So it's three issues that headline the negotiation: the revenue sharing, travel and facility equity, and then the benefits and the family protections. But the war starts and ends with revenue. That it started and end with the revenue.
Mm-hmm.
When we say BRI, we're talking about every dollar these women generate. Game day intake, media rights, the sponsorship, ads, merch, all of it. Okay, the licensing, all of it. If we pull one thread, Lil, one thread, game day revenue. Let's pull that thread and look at the Golden State Falcons. One home game could clear them $2.89 million. Their take home was $2.38 million of that off a single night. Now you do that 22 times. You stretch that over 50, you make that $52 million just from tickets, the concession, the parking, the merch, the VIP suites, in-arena ads, local broadcast money, everything tied directly to the players' labor and presence. But the players, they don't get, they get pennies, not percentages, not partnerships, pennies. So when you think about this setup like this, it's like I don't even know how they can live with themselves. Like $52 million. And paying these players pennies. But
Yeah, because they salary caps. They salary caps are what, under $1 million?
like 1.2,
Yeah.
2 million at the most. If that, 2 million at the most is what I would say for them. I think when you especially when you look at a team like the Valks, all of that tied to all of that tied to just the home games, just the home games. We're not talking about all of the extra sponsorships that they get to have, the special nights that they get to have, bobblehead night, all of that, right?
Local TV rights, because you got you got the local broadcaster, they paying.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just the only money they sharing with the players coming from national TV broadcasting, ticket sales, and merchandise, and then the league the teams and the league take 97% of that, and they get the players just 3% of that. So let me say that for the folks in the back. The people whose names fill the seat, the women who are the product, are shut out of almost 10 major revenue streams that they labor creates. So Adam Silver running out here talking about no revenue sharing. He ain't protected fairness. He protected the structure. And they that's a lot of money because you got a lot of the same owners, doubling their dollars. So if the women ever got the percentage of everything they generate, the entire model of control would collapse overnight. So now when we talk about maneuvering, this is what it looks like in real time. Rewriting the economic policy to look generous while maintaining dependence. So family, that's why this conversation matters, because we don't understand how the money moves. We'll never understand how the power moves. And that's the key thing these women are trying to get ahead of, because I don't know nobody gonna come see the owner do anything. Sit in the skybox, walk in the building, nothing. You coming to see the players, that's it.
Let's see here. Unrivaled. Players like NECA and Alyssa Thomas, I think they're thinking about the future and showing the young players that they should not wait for a WNBA team to call for them to have an opportunity. I don't think that's the case necessarily for them. I think that they're both 35 and getting up in age. I don't know if Alyssa Thomas is 35, but I think NECA's like 35. Even at 850 million, how many more years would they have to play to really get to generational wealth? You've been playing for 60, 200,000, 250,000, however many years now. It's getting close to the end, get to the money. So I understand $2 million and I'll go play in Europe and Asia 2-3 more years to get that 6 million, which I might not see in the WNBA. The AT decision, I don't know why do you say it's weird to you? That she's been playing overseas. we also must be wary of the ones that will inevitably come with less than noble intentions, dropping big bags, but everyone can't be an owner. Yeah, it's gonna be some. You got to be wary of them. Thanks for the insight. Ownership versus equity, Leo. On how Project B is setting up to go against Unrivaled. No coincidence there. And I read an article saying that that is where they are beginning with potential to expand to the into the W season. So yeah, I'm looking at Project B and somebody else was jumping in that area. Upshot?
Upshot, yeah.
No, Upshot is gonna rival. No,
They're gonna
Upshot,
play. They're gonna play the
they're
same
gonna play the
time.
same time as
WNBA.
WNBA.
I think Project B gonna
So it's
overlap.
AU. It would be AU that should be concerned about Project B as well. Wasn't soon after Adam said that the NECA made her choice. They ain't playing with these people. Can't play around. Can't play around. Can't play around in this day and age. It just don't work like that.
And it's so disrespectful, you know, to try to play these women. You act like these the women, you know, on the plantation that couldn't read and write, and even they were smart. You know, I mean, it's just really bizarre that they feel like they can run over these women like that. And at some, you know, at some point, everybody's gonna be like, you know what, it just ain't worth it. It ain't worth it. That is no money compared to what they bringing in.
Yeah, you definitely got to look at at your worth and your value, and then you know how much sweating do you got to do, you know, for some of this other money. You know, 250,000 in Unrivaled, and you can go be an engineer or a model or something someplace else. You know, you just got to see what that looks like. Look, before we close, I want to call it what it is. The kind of truth Malcolm warned us about. He said you can't run capitalism without exploitation, and you can't claim freedom without ownership. And that's exactly what we're watching unfold. This same system that praises these women's brilliance still profits off their silence. And that hype empowerment while blocking access to the very money these players create. And so they hyping this empowerment, but blocking access. And they tweak contracts, shift language, call it progress, but it's still the same old power play dressed up. So Malcolm gave us a blueprint. If you want to understand oppression, trace the money. If you want to end it, control it. And that's the core of this whole conversation. It's not hoops. This is Black women demanding a real stake in the empire they helped build and maintain. It's a system willing to raise salary. It's a system willing to raise salaries before it raises accountability. And it's what happens when women stop waiting for doors to open and start designing their own arena. Unrivaled, unbothered, unstoppable. That's where we got to be headed to.
Your family, this is where we come in. If you believe in equity, prove it with your participation. Join the Respect Her Game Online Advocacy Group. And when the WNBA players fight for a fair deal, please stand with them. Don't get online, you know, talking about what they don't deserve. So when Unrivaled tips off, we got to go strong. We got to stream it. We got to post it. We got to promote it. And let's follow the journalists who telling the truth. You know, buy the merch from the players, not just the league. Because every click, every dollar, every repost, it's a vote for who gets to define the future. And Malcolm said this: the most powerful weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed. So let's free our minds from thinking this is just sports. It's labor, it's legacy, it's liberation time. So fans, family, community, we can't just keep watching the games. we gotta push to get new rules, and that's our power play. So tonight, let's make a commitment to study these systems, support these players, and stand with the truth. Because if we don't, somebody else will write the next CBA for us, and it won't be in our favor.
Y'all, listen. We come to the end of this run. But y'all know this is just the beginning of the conversation. Up next, we digging into Malcolm X's blueprint for sports, the role of meritorious manumission in modern athletics, and how internal sabotage still shows up on the court and in the culture. I need y'all to hit like, share, hype. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this work is bigger than highlights. It's about the stories we tell, the systems we expose, and the truth we refuse to bury. Political Lil, I appreciate you this evening. Y'all know what it is. Political Lil and Cess, your favorite Auntie with Uncle Tendencies, tapping out with one reminder. Y'all stay sharp, stay locked in, stay tuned, talk soon. Y'all know what it is. And we out.